Now we return to local news with Janet.
Enfield teenager Denise Payette lived up to her top seeding, remaining unbeaten as she won the gold medal at the Cadet Girls National Cup. The 14-year-old was invited to the tournament in Bristol because of her position near the top of the table tennis England rankings, and took on the 9 other top players in a round-robin event, including clubmate from Ellenborough, Amelia Chan. The England international was on top form, only dropping sets to 4th seed Guri Duhan and 6th seed Chan, both of whom she beat 4-2. Payette, who attends Enfield County School, said, "I'm happy that it's my last year at this level and I was able to win. It's a hard tournament because you have to keep your concentration and always be focused, because the moment you're not, the score can change completely. I was 2-0 up against Amelia and she played well and came back to 2-2. I had to pull myself together. The competition is really good and helps prepare us for the European competitions."
Staff at a women's centre awarded a £10,000 Gannett Foundation grant hope to offer more support than ever before. The Enfield Women's Centre on Derby Road was presented with a cheque which is awarded by NewsQuest to a community organisation that does exceptional work for people in North London. Centre Director Ginny Landon said they planned to build a new garden office using the money, which would allow disabled people access support at the centre and also offer more privacy than at their rather cramped and busy headquarters. She said this money will allow everyone to access counselling here. There are lots of people needing more support. It is great we will be able to give them that. It has been hard to see people who have gone through traumas, especially if there are lots of people in the building at the same time. They need somewhere quiet, confidential, somewhere they can maintain their dignity. It will allow a better atmosphere, which is so important. Barbara Lefebvre, chairman of the centre, said it was a Yahoo moment of celebration when they found out they had earned the grant, but that they still needed constant support to keep running. She said, "I just think if we'd had this money for the past 10 years, the number of clients we could have helped. Our aim is to show that counselling is not just for people with money, that anyone can get support if they need it. But we need cash ourselves to run, and with so many organisations going for every bit of funding, it is tough. We are delighted to have got it. We found out in December. It was a really opportune moment. It really made all our Christmases."
Enfield Town boosted their Ryman Premier Division promotion hopes after easing to a 3-0 home win over VCD Athletic. The Towners clinched their 5th consecutive win in all competitions as they climbed up to 7th in the table. The victory keeps Bradley Quinton's side firmly in contention for a playoff spot this season. Enfield stumbled in January after falling to a disappointing defeat at VCD Athletic, but the Towners avenged this loss with a comfortable home win. Player-manager Quinton had the first opportunity of the game after just 5 minutes, but he blasted his fierce shot over the visitors' crossbar. VCD only provided an occasional threat, but home goalkeeper Nathan MacDonald was required to charge off his line to smother a dangerous effort. Enfield opened the scoring in the 20th minute when Tyler Campbell set up Corey Whiteley and he struck a superb shot into the back of the net. But the threat from the visitors was still there, and Stan Mugo was needed to clear the ball off the line from a counter-attack. The Towners doubled their advantage shortly after the restart with a clinical finish. Samir Bahuntine broke away before releasing Divine, and the striker tucked home their second goal of the game. Quinton's side effectively put the game beyond their opponents just before the hour mark, when Whiteley exposed the defence to score his 19th goal of the season. The hosts were always comfortable after building up this commanding lead, and could have easily scored more goals against their struggling opponents as the clock ticked down. Substitute Ryan Doyle had an even better chance to score, but he miskicked when through on goal after excellent approach play from Mickey Parcell. Quinton almost got in on the act with a late goal, but the manager's shot flew over the crossbar in injury time. The victory leaves the Towners 7th in the table after their 12th home league victory of the campaign. Enfield face a trip next to mid-table Metropolitan Police as they bid to maintain their promotion challenge.
Children in the borough are fighting against a rising tide of obesity levels, despite the local authority launching a raft of initiatives to help lower the problem in the very young. The latest figures for Enfield show that 24.6% of 10 and 11-year-olds in the borough are officially classed as obese. The figures show a slight increase from last year, when 24.1% of the same age group were classed in this category. It's a bitter blow for Enfield Council, which tried to get kids living more healthily with ramped-up fitness classes and healthy eating promotions in primary schools, after figures in 2012 showed the borough had the second highest childhood obesity rates in London, with 25.1% of 10 and 11-year-olds classed as obese. The figures improved the next year, with just over 23% of kids in the obese category, but the numbers have been inching up again in the last 2 years. Necker Keysor, the council's cabinet member for public health and sport, said, "Levels of obesity are increasing across Western Europe, and tackling the issue is a major challenge at a continental, national and local level, which will require concerted action at both European Union and UK government levels." Consequently, the council, in partnership with colleagues working in the NHS, schools and children's centres and sport and leisure facilities, have developed a wide range of initiatives designed to give families the advice and support they need to adopt more healthy lifestyles, live more active lives and therefore achieve a healthy weight. All partners working with children and families continue to regard this work as a priority, as part of the suite of services to the local community. The figures emerged as part of Labour candidate Sadiq Khan's campaign, setting out what he would do to improve the health of the capital's kids, including demanding that the next Mayor of London be given additional powers to plan and coordinate health services across the city. He said, "Across London, almost a quarter of 10 to 11-year-olds are clinically obese, and the figure is going up every year. It's particularly bad in Enfield, having increased by 8.6% since 2010. The government has no answer to the country's growing obesity crisis. They have failed to deliver a lasting legacy from the Olympics, they have consistently failed to deliver health improvements, and now they are delaying the very thing they hoped might address that shortfall. A national sugar tax could play a significant role in solving the obesity crisis, and it's frustrating that the government is ruling it out."
We all know about toddler tantrums and teenage moods, but when Adam Long's son refused to leave his bedroom, it was much more than your usual growing pains. Joe was diagnosed with Fragile X syndrome when he was 2, a genetic condition with symptoms similar to autism that left him so anxious about meeting new people he would barely go outside. Adam and his wife Alex had tried everything over the years to try and help their son, but it wasn't until he was 14 that they discovered the answer right outside their door in Enfield. He had speech therapists, occupational therapists, and had gone to a special school, but that hadn't worked. As he went into puberty, his anxiety became more acute, and being around people he didn't recognise was very difficult for him, explains Adam, who founded the Reduced Shakespeare Company with 2 friends as a hobby. We'd never tried theatre before, but at home, whenever we played show music, he would stand up and sing. Joe could see the famous chicken shed building from the window of his bedroom in Oakwood, and his parents, who both work in show business, decided to give it a go, spending days persuading him to step outside the front door and travel the few metres to the chicken shed theatre. It was like magic, said Adam. He immediately relaxed and started taking part, and this young man, who a few weeks before hadn't been able to be around other people, was suddenly rehearsing with 100 other performers and dancing and singing. Joe had a part in the Christmas Carol that year and was a member of the Inclusive Theatre for 3 years, over which time Adam became involved behind the scenes, helping write and create shows. The father of 2 is now one of 14 collaborators working on Chicken Shed's new show, Sharing Stages, which aims to demonstrate the breadth of its creative partnership with organisations such as Amnesty, Barnardo's, the Brit School and Young Minds, and the desire to reach far beyond its walls to help create a better world. Joe has always had an affinity with animals, and he went on to go to college after Chicken Shed, and then joined a farming community in Wales. But the 22-year-old still sees shows whenever he is home. Adam says of his son's experience there, it saved his life. He was housebound, but Chicken Shed totally transformed him. Sharing Stages runs at Chicken Shed Chayside Southgate from March 3rd to the 20th.
A plumber is hoping that his self-cleaning toilet will make him flush with success. Marius Kutzitz has spent 6 years developing the invention and made several visits to China to perfect it. He has been awarded a patent to protect the rights to his invention and is now starting to sell the toilets after his first container of 170 loos arrived in the UK. The 42-year-old, who lives in Henry Close, Enfield, said, "I'm a normal guy who has done something that no one has done in the world. It has been a long road from sketching out the idea to perfecting it, and Mr. Kurtz's first contacted a factory in the UK, but was offered a low return on any items he sold. He decided to get on a plane to find a factory in China which could make a prototype. In the end, he sourced different parts at different factories. He started on his first designs in May 2009 and was granted the patent in 2013. His wife, Sylvia, has supported his ideas, and they have sacrificed holidays while he has been working to get the invention up and running. Mr. Kurtzis said, were a lot of complications, but I have worked with the factories to solve the problems. His toilet includes remote-controlled ventilation to keep things pong-free when people spend a penny. He said he had to spend some time experimenting with designs to create a quiet fan. Mr. Kurtzis has also developed a container for cleaning the bowl, so it is automatically cleaned every time the toilet is flushed. He is now showing his invention to bathroom shops and has ambitions to get on BBC Two's Dragon's Den TV show to pitch for funding from the programme's entrepreneurs.
Now for further details of the Council's proposed budget cuts. This is the first time in 6 years that residents in the borough will see their council tax bills go up. However, it is also the first time the Council has revealed the scale of the cuts they need to make in order to stay afloat. All non-statutory youth services will be axed, and the borough's streets and parks could look very different this time next year. So how will the new budget cuts affect you? Parking. The budget sets out that in the 2016-17 period, the Council expects to make £150,000 in savings from reviewing the controlled parking zone charges. The council states that at the moment the money generated from parking permits does not cover the cost of the CPZs. They say that new charges will be introduced to ensure the schemes are cost neutral. Streets. The council expect to make £90,000 in savings in street cleaning by reducing staff numbers by 2 drivers and 10 cleaning staff for 2 days a week. The council says standards of cleanliness will be at risk, together with a slower reactive response to littering issues. Parks. There will be a reduction in how often parks are cleaned across the borough. In 2017-18, £40,000 will be shaved from this part of the budget, with the council asking volunteers to step up to help. The budget report states it is proposed to change the volunteer agreement to target these resources into litter picking to mitigate the impact. It warns there will be increased incidents of overflowing litter bins, particularly during peak summer months. Leisure. There will be a reduction in free activities in the borough's leisure centres. This is expected to net the council savings of £100,000. Fewer festivals. 22,000 will be shaved from the festivals budget. The report states the team will continue to deliver a festivals programme in line with the budget available. Housing. The council wants to make savings from supported living schemes. This will affect people living with mental health and learning disabilities, as well as having an impact on domestic violence services and homelessness prevention. The budget report states the suggested reductions will have a major impact on all clients currently accessing housing-related support. Adult social services. A total of £400,000 is set to be axed from the budget used to transport elderly people around the borough. Those with special needs. A total of £500,000 is to be stripped from the specialist educational needs transport budget over the next 2 years. The savings apparently will be made by reviewing the eligibility criteria, providing alternative means of delivery, as well as introducing personal transport budgets. And finally, young people. All non-statutory youth services are set to be stripped away in order to make a total of £1,699,000 in savings over the next 4 years. The council is hoping that charities and volunteers will step in to keep some youth clubs open. Detached youth services and peripatetic youth work teams will no longer operate. Duke of Edinburgh schemes will be a thing of the past. Youth Action Volunteering Enfield will be axed. Summer activities for children during the holidays, including summer university, will be axed. Youth centre workers will also be axed.
More than 200 people attended the Bradley Knight Memorial Cup clash between Cheshunt and Enfield Ignatian's veterans rugby teams recently. It was a game which honoured the memory of former Cheshunt player Bradley Knight, who was killed in an attack in Walthamstow High Street in 2001. In an entertaining encounter, played in freezing conditions, Cheshunt won 55 points to 31. In a game played over 4 quarters of 20 minutes, Cheshunt dominated in the opening and third segments of the game when they brought their A team and consequently their A game to bear. It was a more even affair in the second and fourth quarters when Ignatian's Pulsars team, effectively a veterans team and for whom Chris Lyons was in outstanding form, weighed in with 5 tries. Gareth Williams 2 and Leighton Thomas were also amongst the scorers as the hosts finished on a high. Ignatian spokesman Martin Baker said, It was a great way to honour Bradley's memory, and a big thanks to the large Cheshunt support which added to the occasion. It also proved an excellent fundraiser for both clubs, and agreement between the parties means that the proceeds on the day will be split between the youth sections of both clubs. Many of the Pulsars team knew Bradley and were friends with him, and this is the second time that the event has taken place, with Cheshunt also winning the clash last year. The Ignatians seconds continued their excellent run in Hearts Middlesex Merit Table 2 after shading another thriller with Cuffley, 14 points to 13. Only 2 points separated the team the last time the sides met, and again Ignatians came from behind after Cuffley had led 10-0.
Labour London Mayor candidate described Enfield and Haringey as a crucial battleground in the upcoming election. Sadiq Khan visited Forest Lane Primary Care Trust in Edmonton to meet patients and to give his backing to Joanne McCartney, who has served as GLA member for the borough since 2004. He said voters in Enfield and Haringey would have a huge say in who will succeed Boris Johnson as Mayor of London on May the 5th. One of Sadiq Khan's flagship policies is a freeze in Transport for London fares. This will affect train services across the borough, including the line up to Enfield Chase, which is set to move into TfL control by 2021. When asked if the fare to travel from Enfield Chase to King's Cross will still be £5 peak and £3.20 off-peak by 2021 if he becomes mayor, Mr Khan simply said yes. He said Londoners pay the most expensive transport fares in the whole of Europe. They've doubled in the last 8 years. That's a huge expense. TfL is good, but it's extremely flabby. Last year they spent $383 million on consultants and part-time agency staff. We can cut that in half. We are also losing a lot of money through fare dodging. We've got to clamp down on that.
A wheelchair-bound athlete has launched an app to help out disabled people who want to play sport. Ben Crabb, aged 28, from Cotswolds Way, Enfield, launched the Perfect Imperfections app on Wednesday, February the 24th, the third anniversary of the accident which left him paralysed. He said he chose this day especially as he wants it to be a day of celebration and success rather than one remembered solely for his injury. The app, which allows people and organisations to share news and events on disability sport to make participation a lot easier, was accepted by Apple into their store on Friday. He said, "I've got really good feedback on it so far, but I had to get professional help to put it together. It was a lot more difficult than I thought. We were aiming to launch in January, but there were some problems and improvements we needed to sort out. Apple are quite fussy. I knew they were looking at it, so I just sat up, refreshing my emails. Eventually, I got the acceptance email at 11 p.m. I was buzzing. It was a good day. It opens up a huge potential market for us. Putting the app together made me realise how difficult it is to get people to put their events out there. I was trying to get people to follow and commit to something that didn't exist, but now it is real and on a big marketplace. Mr Crabb says getting into sport in the last 3 years has opened up new opportunities. Having never played tennis before, he has recently been accepted onto a training programme for wheelchair tennis ahead of the 2020 Paralympics in Tokyo. He said, "I hardly ever did sport before the accident. I never even watched a tennis match. Hopefully other people can have a similar experience. When you end up in a wheelchair, you push everyone away. For me, doing sport was the only time when I could forget any of my unhappiness or frustration. But it is expensive and difficult to find. That is why I think this app is needed. I'm going to use it myself. Perfect Imperfections is available on the Apple Store now.
We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Janet, Sally, Colin, Keith and Robin on the controls, it's goodbye. Goodbye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diana Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking newspaper. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.